rest of the season outlook for Texas. Like, I'm going to read some stats here. So I already read the stat about highest depth of target. That's got to change. We got to bring that down. We got to run actually more of the Quinn Ewers offense with Arch Manning. I know you thought you wanted the deep ball because he has a great deep ball, but again, it's all about the offensive line. You can't throw deep. Texas has faced more third and nines than third and fours this year. Think about that. More third and nine plushes than third and four. You're not winning with that, guys. The average at Florida was third and 11. Third and 11. You're losing yards on the other two downs. That you're supposed to be an offensive genius, and you're losing yards on first and second down. Big issue. Texas, 108th in fourth down conversion rate, 127th in penalty yards, 127. Guys, there's 136 teams in the country. That means there's 9 teams or 8 teams worse than Texas in the country penalty yards. Penalties per game, 131st. There are 4 or 5 teams that have more penalties per game than Texas. 104th red zone efficiency. That has not been fixed at all. That's one of those things where we talked about, do we need an offense coordinator? I'm all in on that now. I just haven't seen enough progress. I've seen no progress, actually, on red zone, third down, penalties. I think there's way too much on Steve Sarkisian's plate, especially in the game today. I think he's got to give those play calling up. And then we're 116th in third down conversion rate. Guys, this is unacceptable if you're supposed to be one of the 2 to 3 best play callers in the country with the top. I think, listen, do I think it's one of the 4 best rosters like the team talent composite says? No, but it's one of the 10, and this is just unacceptable. All those stats I said are unacceptable.
Yeah, and you mentioned that third and 11, the average distance to go on third downs, it was 11.1 yards. I think this would, if the season ended today, this would be the worst third down team in Steve Sarkisian's era at Texas. I think by about 5-ish percentage points. But part of the third down issue is the penalty issue that you mentioned. Texas had a 3rd and 22 because the same player had back-to-back false, or Texas had back-to-back false starts on a 3rd and 12 that went to a 3rd and 17 that went to a 3rd and 22. Like, that kind of stuff is inexcusable. Having those types of procedural penalties. And I'll say this, like, this has been a feature of Kyle Flood's era at Texas with some of these false starts and some of these. Like, I'm okay with offensive linemen getting penalized for aggression type penalties, right? Where you're getting called for a hold because you absolutely mauled the guy. Like, it happens sometimes, right? But like, part of the issue, and Sark talked about it in his Monday presser, that like Florida was doing some stemming that was causing guys to be jittery. And I'm going to let you in on a secret. It's not a secret. Georgia did the same thing to them last year at home, and it caused an issue. So like, what is happening that we're not correcting these things? Like, if we know why it's happening, because it happened again against Georgia last year, and it's part of the reason why the offensive line sucked butt against Georgia in that game. Like, if we know that's an issue, then why are we not correcting it? What is the issue there? The third downs, inexcusable for me. And part of it is, again, because Texas is getting super penalized. They had multiple, I think they had 3 penalties on third down that put them past a third down. They didn't have a 3rd and short. They had 1 3rd and short in the first half, and they converted it, right? They didn't have another 3rd and short until 5 minutes left in the third quarter. And they got a penalty on that. Like, I don't know, like, that's their last 4 third downs of the game were 3rd and 17, 3rd and 22, 3rd and 27, 3rd and 12.
That's wild.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean,
ridiculous.
It's one of those things where literally this has been going on the past 3 years consistently, that we've been bad in the red zone and penalties. Like, guys, there's a real shot if we were just really good at one of those things, at not committing penalties, or really good in the red zone, that we could be back-to-back national champions. Like, that's a real possibility that we stopped ourselves from. We definitely beat Washington if we're better at one of those things. And last year, I think we probably go to overtime versus Ohio State. I don't know if we win, but we go to overtime. So it's just one of those things. We have to get out of our own way. I think you do have to call or get a play caller, because, again, no national championship team has won with their head coach as a play caller since Jimbo Fisher. 1, that was a different time. 2, like you said, Gerald, at one point when we had this discussion, Jameis Winston. So you had a Heisman Trophy. Yeah, a Heisman Trophy winner at quarterback. And guess what? That was a dogfight in the national championship game. They had to come back from 14 down. So there's too much on someone's plate right now. I don't think you can be like either a defensive coordinator and be a good head coach, or an offensive coordinator and be a good head coach. It's just the way things are now. You can't do it. So I think he has to hire someone. Number two, again, you have to stop. I know what your philosophy is, but there's a difference between pride and do you want to win football games? You're going to have to check that pride shit at the door, because if you don't, this is 7-5, 6-6 team. That's what it's going to be if he doesn't. This team, if he does, which I think he should do, is get Arch Manning out of the pocket. Then you don't have to worry about the pocket collapsing. Max protect the hell. Like, I'm talking 80 to 90% of the dropbacks you do, max protect. It is what it is. It's going to limit you, but I'd rather have Arch upright. And then, listen, you're going to have to get creative, more creative. Like we saw that the wide receiver pass, you're going to have to do some things like that. He's not a super creative play caller when it comes to that, or gimmicky, because that's more gimmicky. But you're going to have to do stuff like that. If they do 3 of those things, I think this team can go 9-3. I really believe that. Is he going to do that? I don't know, because I've never seen him. One, he's never had to do it. Number two, I don't know if he is, because he's never had to do it. Like, it's something when your back is against the wall. Like, if we roll out what we did, that exact same game plan versus Florida, if you guys thought what happened to Arch Manning in that game was bad, Oklahoma's front seven is way better than Florida's. Oklahoma's front seven is probably the best in the country. So he is going to get, I don't know, 10 sacks is probably what would happen, and we'd be lucky to score 10 points in the game. Like, you're going to have to change up the philosophy of this offense.
Yeah, and we've seen him do a little bit of that already this year, rolling in some of those QB runs that get Arch going a bit. It's like he's shown that he's willing to do some of it, but it's going to be a pretty big undertaking to do some of that, and it's hard to do that mid-season. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays itself out. But if you are touted as an offensive genius, one of the best offensive minds in the country, and you can't tailor an offense to a quarterback who most recruiting services agreed was a generational type talent, if you can't get that kid, one, comfortable in his position, and two, tailored to his specific skill set, then like I can't give you your flowers, because that to me is inexcusable. That to me is part and parcel of what makes a good offensive coach, is being able to say, okay, this is what this kid is good at. Here, we're going to make him do those things, right? Because I honestly think that's part of what Arch's struggles were early in the season, was that he wasn't confident with the things that Steve Sarkisian was asking him to do. I think Sark was expecting the player to mold to the offense rather than the other direction. And that's just not something that you can do. We've never seen success with that. We've never seen a player really find a ton of success doing that. Again, I think back to Jeff Fisher trying to change Vince Young in the pros and absolutely ruined the kid, right? Like, that to me is it's that same kind of thing. And I'm not saying it's that bad, but like, when you try to change a quarterback and make him go against what he's good at, it generally doesn't work.
No, and listen, people are going to clown on Bill Belichick because what you see now. But I've seen that guy in the NFL where one week they throw for 400 yards. Next week he's like, guess what? This team's really bad against the run. I'm literally going to run it down their throat. I still remember the Jonathan Gray game versus the Indianapolis Colts where they said, you know what? We're going to run it with this no-name running back 25 times, 30 times, because the Colts can't stop. And that guy went for 200-plus yards, multiple touchdowns, and then they cut him 2 weeks because he was late. And guess what? The team didn't miss a beat, because that's what they did. They literally would scheme for the team they're playing and what the talent they have around on their team. And that's what Sark's going to have to do. I agree. If everything was perfect, I agree with taking bombs, because Arch throws a beautiful deep ball and we have the weapons. Clearly, they were behind Florida all day. Doesn't matter, because you have 1.5 seconds to do that, and it's not going to work. So change the game plan. If you want to win, change the game plan. It's going to be interesting how he does that. I agree, too. We only saw 2 quarterback design runs versus Florida. That number has to be 10. It has to be 10. You have to get them out there, QB power, QB counter, help the running backs out, take some of the stress off them in the running game, and put a little bit on Arch Manning. And also, too, guys, like, I think the power and gap scheme stuff doesn't work. Like, we're going to have to go back to what we saw last year, which is outside zone. I think that works a little bit better, and we haven't really seen that this year for whatever reason, and he's, like, completely abandoned it. So we just got to do stuff that works for the personnel we have. That is the number one thing. That is what every coach in America should do. I know it sucks not to run your scheme, but guess what? Winning or losing sucks way more than not being able to run your scheme.
Yeah, I was going to say, what feels better than running your scheme is winning 10 games, winning 11 games, going to a playoff. That feels a lot better than being able to say you did it your way. That's exactly where I'm at, Matthew. It is frustrating, to say the least.
So let's give our record predictions real quick for the rest of the year. I'm going to stick to 8-4. I think this team has a lot of talent still, and I do believe. Listen, Florida has a really good defensive line. I don't think you're going to see many on the rest of the schedule that are as good as that. Like I said, I think Georgia and Oklahoma are. Texas A&M is still a maybe for me. Their defensive line isn't as good as it was last year. But other than those three teams, like, no offense to Vanderbilt, Vanderbilt does not have the defensive line or offensive line that those teams do. Same with Kentucky. Mississippi State doesn't. It's all about the line of scrimmage here. That's our weakness. So if you can push us around, you can definitely beat us. No doubt about that. I don't think there's a lot of teams left on the schedule that can do that, though.
Yeah, I like you. I think you picked out the ones. Oklahoma scares me the most of them just because of what they have on the defensive line. I think back to what they did to Auburn in that unit, and I was like, that's the blueprint for how to beat Texas in Dallas. And we'll talk about that here in just a minute. I think A&M is a school that does a lot, and they're going to kind of pick you apart with their speed. And I don't know if Texas has the speed in the secondary to keep up with that pair of receivers they have. So that's something that concerns me in Georgia. So I think 8-4 probably is my optimistic thing, but I wouldn't be shocked if Texas turns a 7-5 in this year.
Yeah, no, I think honestly, if it like completely bottoms out, 6-6, like the lowest I could see this thing go. But I mean, that would be disastrous at that point. So it is what it is. That's our season outlook for right now. Hopefully it turns around. We'll jump right into this.